For Mississippi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope we will vote later on today to advance the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And members who've been around here a long time realize what a bipartisan tradition this has been for the United States Senate. Those listening to us should appreciate that. And I think take note of basically a half a century tradition of passing this national defense bill on a bipartisan, overwhelmingly bipartisan basis each year. We don't let a year pass. We've been able successfully to do that now for approximately half a century. We'll see later on today whether that tradition will continue, and I believe it will. I think we'll be able to work something out with the House of Representatives. There's some differences that have emerged over there that we did not have in the Armed Services Committee when we reported it overwhelmingly just a few weeks ago. So I'm very hopeful we'll continue this tradition. And I hope we will do so particularly this year to build on the great progress that we've made the last couple of years. And I think we should admit on both sides of the aisle that we had perhaps let our national security slip a little in terms of a priority over the last several years. We rectified that a couple of years ago. And what we've done, not only at the authorization level, but also at the appropriation level, is send a strong signal around the world to our allies that we are back to emphasizing strength and back to emphasizing protection of Americans and American interests, but also a signal to those who would wish us ill. And we know how dangerous the world is now, and I think anyone that would ask the question, Mr. President, to any of the 100 of us or those within the sound of my voice, is the world safer today than it was 2 years ago when we started on this quest to rebuild our defense? I think the answer would be no. The world still needs the strength of the United States of America to keep those trade lines open and to maintain the peace that we've become so accustomed to. So we'll pass this bill, and then we'll have the task, and I want everybody to understand this, we'll have the task of getting the bills done to actually pay for what we authorize. And that's where, quite frankly, Mr. President, I'm worried with some of the talk I hear around town about perhaps negotiations going on between Democrats and Republicans over here, between House and Senate members, and even in the executive branch, about just not quite getting to a comprehensive appropriation bill this year. Perhaps some people say we could save a little money on the margin simply by having what we call a continuing resolution, what they call at the Pentagon a CR, to just fund the government without directives in the appropriation bill for another year at the same level that we have, both domestically and militarily. And we know that of that discretionary budget, 50% of it is national security. Everything else in the federal government is called domestic spending, and that's another 50% approximately. I'm here to tell you that if you ask the experts that are charged with defending this great United States of America, they will tell you that a continuing resolution is not only a mistake for the United States of America, it is a disaster for national defense. And we need to raise this issue and to point out what the people are saying that we rely on. The Pentagon has made progress the last couple of years. We've committed to 355-ship Navy. We're rebuilding the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and the Coast Guard. I can tell you that a continuing resolution, according to the experts, the uniformed people that we put in office to make us safe, would reverse this progress. It would stop new programs, it would curtail production ramp-ups, and it would inhibit flexibility necessary to make good resource allocations. A week-long CR would be a mistake. A year-long CR would be a catastrophe for the defense of the United States of America. With the Navy and Marine Corps, it would delay heavy maintenance for the Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier. For the Navy and Marine Corps, it would prevent new guided missile frigate program from even starting. We've authorized this. We've already spent money getting ready for it. It would prevent the new guided missile program from beginning. It would cut planned operations and maintenance budget by nearly $6 billion. It would cut O&M funds critical for readiness. It would prevent 18 critical research and development efforts from starting, including large unmanned surface vehicle maritime drones and artificial intelligence development. This would be part of the result of a one-year continuing resolution. It would prohibit funding for 33 critical military construction projects. A one-year CR or even a shorter CR would prevent, during its existence, procurement of one Virginia-class submarine, one fleet ocean tug, and 2 landing craft utility vessels to support our Marines during this time when the world is more dangerous than it's been in quite a while. With regard to the Air Force, a one-year CR would constrain the Air Force spending at FY19 levels, decreasing buying power by $11.8 billion. It would hold 88 new investment programs. It would delay awarding 40 MILCON projects across 18 states and limit the planned 4,400 total force and in-strength growth. These are things we've already voted for, Mr. President. But a one-year CR would stop that. You can't do the extra 4,400 in-strength personnel that we need. And with regard to the Army, it would negatively impact recent readiness gains, hamper modernization. But don't take my word for it. Every chance I've gotten, Mr. President, at committee level, we have asked the people in charge how a CR would affect our ability to defend the United States of America. Here's what General Joe Dunford said earlier this year, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he wasn't on some soapbox. He was just answering questions from a member of the United States Senate. Past CRs, I'm quote, past CRs, according to General Dunford, delayed new starts, and it's been incredibly efficient in how we prioritize and allocate resources. Former Secretary of Defense Pat Shanahan said a continuing resolution would hamstring the department. We cannot start new initiatives. Our funding would be in the wrong accounts, and we would lose buying power. Is that what we want? Rather than do our jobs, rather than do hard negotiation between Democrats and Republicans and the administration and agree on a figure for domestic and national security that we don't love, but that gets us where we need to be in terms of defending the country. General David Goldfein, the top Air Force 4-star in the land, said a CR would have a significantly negative effect. Is that what we want to have on the Air Force, a significantly negative impact? It would put our in-strength growth at risk because we would not be able to bring on the additional airmen we need. Senator James McConville, Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, quote, a continuing resolution would be devastating to the United States Army. This is not a politician. This is somebody that's given his career, given his professional adult life to being an officer in the United States Army. He said it would be devastating to the United States Army, a continuing resolution. Surely, the elected representatives in the House and Senate can heed the words of these patriots and come to an agreement. Procurement, according to Lieutenant General David Berger, Deputy Commandant of the Marine Corps, for combat development, procurements are going to be delayed. New starts you cannot do. New starts that we voted for, that we're expecting, that the department wants to do. You pass a CR, they cannot do a new start. And the worst part about it for us is the unpredictability. Jim Gertz, Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research. Budget uncertainty associated with the continuing resolution adds instability, inefficiency, delays contracting, and delays fielding of critical capabilities. Mr. President, we need to stifle any talk, either in this building or the Pentagon or down the street at the other end of Pennsylvania, about a one-year continuing resolution as being beneficial to the United States of America. It would have an impact on every single state that does military manufacturing. And those are just a few of the answers that have been given to us by the professionals that we've put in charge. Let's give our team what they need. Let's pass this bill this week. Send it to the House, negotiate the differences that we have at the NDAA level, and do patriotically what we've done now for 50 straight years. But then let's get serious when we get back from this Independence Day break with our patriotic citizens and our family. Let's get serious about arriving at a compromise number that gets us where we need to be in terms of continuing to make sure that we have the resources to protect the United States of America. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.